Story 1. I was dog sitting for my friend for 2 weeks, and all he wanted me to do was not leave the house because the dogs were old rescues. He had stocked up on dog food for 2 weeks. No problem, I said. I loved his dogs. I stayed in his house for 2 weeks, only leaving once for groceries. I beat Spider-Man on PlayStation 4 and then played through Fire Emblem. 3 houses for 300 hours. That was the first time I thought, life can be like this. This is nice. I sat by playing with dogs and eating a huge bag of pea pods. One of the best moments of my life, honestly. Story 2. There is a little bookstore by my house that is absolutely amazing. I would happily work there for the rest of my life if they paid more than $14 an hour. Love books. Story 3. I do not dream of labor. That said, I'm a busybody, so even if I were independently wealthy, I would probably volunteer at an animal shelter or buy a boat and run fishing charters. Story 4. I would just ask people if they had a problem that a cool spreadsheet could help make easier. Then I would build them a cool spreadsheet. The more elaborate, the better. Story 5. I think I would be a professional ice cream taster. Imagine getting paid to eat ice cream all day and call it work. Plus, I would always have the best dessert recommendations at parties. Story 6. I would go back to being a firefighter. I loved the job. Every day was different, and I felt like I was making a tangible difference in my community. However, I do not miss living off of $35,000 with the whimsical promise of a pension after 20 years. I saw a lot of guys taken out by normal, everyday injuries and issues. Story 7. I like to make art, write, create, solve problems, and build things, so I would probably go to school and learn about how to do those things better and see where that takes me. I always feel really good and accomplished after doing anything creative, especially if it's helpful or meaningful to someone else. Story 8. Daycare teacher. I worked at a daycare as a teenager. It was so fun and flexible. Sometimes I'm holding babies, other times I'd be on field trips with summer camp. I love kids and enjoy how fun and carefree they can be. I hate that caring for children isn't a job that compensates well enough to live. Story 9. Anything administrative related. Basically, what I do now. I enjoy working a desk job and listening to podcasts and music while I work. But if I have to choose something else, I'd say an automotive detailer. There's a really nice, rewarding feeling in taking a dirty car and making it shine. Story 10. So basically, universal income means that income is the same for all jobs, and having a job is still required for basic self-sustainability. Honestly, I'd probably go back to retail and be a cashier or backroom stocking. Story 11. If money were no longer a concern, I would farm. I would have big equipment, drive tractors, and fix things all day. I would spend my days outside. Once you get rid of the money problem, yields do not matter anymore, so you can grow what you want without worrying about how it will turn out. Want to grow something exotic and atypical for your area? You only live once. Go for it. Story 12. Librarian or park ranger. I love books and helping people find things, and love libraries. Park ranger seems interesting because it involves a lot of outdoor time and learning constantly. Story 13. I would probably be a park ranger or do something similar outside. I admire their work. When I'm old and bored, I imagine myself running a campground, handing out firewood. Story 14. I'd like to do a rather specific type of woodworking. I want to make gun and ammunition boxes, the big wooden ones, for entirely gamer and dork reasons. In many shooter games, you see ammunition and weapon boxes. I think they'd be nice to make. I'd likely also make the boxes for other purposes with altered designs, such as household storage purposes. Story 15. Maybe a whiskey taster. Maybe a musician. Maybe a comedy writer or voice actor. The closest I would get to actual labor would be making stuff out of wood, like guitars and basses. Story 16. Economist. But one that is paid to collect data for decision-making and not just paid to defend a predetermined conclusion. It would be great to have real answers to why housing is so expensive or how national healthcare would impact the economy. I'm probably going to read half-baked economic theories when I retire anyway. It would be better to have access to real data. Story 17. Astronaut, race car driver. I desperately want to go to space, even if it is a guaranteed death sentence. And I have always been obsessed with sports cars and pushing them to their physical limit. Story 18. I used to make pizzas in one of those big wood-burning ovens where they make them Neapolitan style. I was a waiter, but I would substitute if the kitchen staff was short a person. I loved doing that. Story 19. Comedian voice actor. Recently started doing stand-up and have been doing really well, but there's no way I would leave the security of my field to be an artist. Story 20. My 3 favorite jobs I have ever had were hotel front desk, GameStop manager, and hotshot driver. I would do any of those if money were not an option. I would also like to stream e-racing on Twitch, but I have never played e-racing and never have streamed on Twitch, so I will probably stick to just watching. Story 21. One of those system administrator jobs where they sit around all day with nothing to do because everything works, and they spend maybe an hour or two tweaking the scripts that keep everything running smoothly. Story 22. I always wanted to be someone who dreams up and builds sets for stage productions. I've been fascinated with it since I was in middle school. I'm now middle-aged, and I'm pretty sure that ship has sailed. The other thing I've always thought would be cool is also something I'm actively working towards. A small, self-sufficient farm which also sells the products of that labor. I've got the farm, though it's a work in progress. I have gardens and chickens. Next up is planting the berry patch, adding more produce, and expanding the chicken count. After that, we will scale up to larger livestock. Story 23. It's my dream job. Retro and modern games, trading cards, a little lounge area with PlayStation 2s, GameCubes, and Xboxes hooked up with demo discs, the golden era of demo kiosks. A binder with printed previews and blurbs of upcoming games. Story 24. I think it would be awesome to work at one of those car washes where it is a whole bunch of people just talking and working together, and there is nothing significantly stressful. Story 25. Cashier at a gas station. I was a big fan of the movie Clerks. I think it would be so much fun to just have a chill job, no one really depending on me to do anything actually important. Push a mop around, fix up the chip shelf, chat with people all day long, and take their money. Story 26. King of England. I would aim for total world domination again like they did in the past. I would either succeed and become the first king of Earth or be killed immediately. However, you can't simply get that job, you have to be born into it. Why would I want to be king of Earth? Simple. I would eliminate this subscription model that is taking over the planet and levy taxes on billionaire corporations to sustain the world instead of burdening the common man. Profit taxes should replace income taxes. Story 27. I'm a board-certified mortician. However, the first place I worked offered part-time minimum wage, and the second place offered on-call minimum wage. I was doing work that was important to me, but for an average of $60 per week. Story 28. Physical penetration tester. After listening to a dozen podcasts about it, there are people who are paid to see if they can break into secure facilities and steal sensitive information. Straight up Ocean's 11 kind of stuff. That sounds so cool. Alternatively, maybe work in a bike shop, climbing shop, or other outdoor fields. Or as a guide. Mountain biking, fishing, rock climbing. I enjoy all those things. Story 29. Bookstore owner or librarian. Hang out with books in peace and quiet 8 hours a day, maybe a few times a week. That would be fine by me. And no meetings or email. Thanks. Story 30. If I magically had $200 million, my job would be doing the things I'm passionate about. Whether that is in pursuit of maximizing my talents at a hobby, learning new hobbies, or building a business. Okay, but those sound like generic catch-all words, so what does this mean? Point 1. I would buy a race car, take extensive lessons, and continuously pursue my ability to race. Something like a spec Porsche 911. Maybe I'd burn out in 2 years and hate it, maybe not. Point 2. I'd get my pilot's license and learn to fly a variety of aircraft. I'd love to learn to fly myself all over the country. Something I certainly couldn't do on my current salary and bandwidth. Point 3. I'd go to culinary school or take up whatever path I could to get as good as I can at cooking the kind of food I enjoy. Point 4. I'd become an angel investor in local businesses. start up businesses that I am passionate about and would enjoy having a hand in shaping their future, and success would be incredibly rewarding. None of these are work in the traditional sense, but it's the kind of thing that keeps you active and excited to live each day. Story 31. Two choices. 1. Luthier. I've always loved music, and my weapon of choice has always had 6 strings. I always had great times taking the cheap guitars from pawn shops or Guitar Center and bending them to my will. I would love to make them from the ground up. 2. Lawyer. Before the downvotes to oblivion, I'm a little too altruistic for my own good. I would never represent someone who was obviously guilty, be it an ATM robber or a multi-billion-dollar international conglomerate. Story 32. I would create small microcontroller libraries and projects for cosplayers and small projects. I'm a seasoned firmware engineer and love it. The past decade has been all about software management and documentation. I'd love to just spend my days writing drivers for Arduino to make ring lights glow like Iron Man's fire. Servo motor controllers with maximum easy interfaces so hobbyists can get access to a microprocessor with ease. I am really good at writing documentation. I feel like I could write an entire Arduino ecosystem open source to help everyone. Programming kits for kids. The sky's the limit. Until then, I'm stuck creating life-saving medical devices for money. Could be worse. Story 33. Something 8 to 4, 5 days a week, or something 8 to 6, 4 days a week that doesn't involve working in retail or general customer service of any kind. I'm over people. I don't care if it's shoveling waste. Not literally, my body already feels broken. I don't mind work, but I do mind having to worry about money. Story 34. Meat cutter or metal fabricator. I really enjoyed both of those trades, but I work in technology because I can't afford to live on what is made from both those jobs combined. Story 35. The same job I have now, case manager for disabled veterans. After 10 years of retirement, my wife passing away at 43 and not finding my footing outside my military career, I'm back home. I serve and it fills me with joy unbounded. I'll be looking elsewhere this year. Is it because the pay is not commensurate with my degree and dedication? Yes. Is it because watching my brothers and sisters die in front of me is harming me mentally? Also yes. Is it because some of my fellow family were difficult at 18 and continue to be at 88? Yes. Until my happy self is parked in the dirt, will I continue with this work in some form? You're absolutely right. We are supposed to help one another. If I can't do that for family, I'll do it for my community. Story 36. I would be a movie projectionist again in the early 1990s. I used to be able to tell when someone came upstairs while the projectors were running, as the sound would slightly change as they passed by. They could never figure out how I always knew. Story 37. I would probably just be dedicating my time to helping people out with their hobbies and interests and things that I am good at or passionate about, almost none of which are really lucrative. Story 38. Financial planning. Most people do not understand the basics. Benefit from a high-yield savings account. Set up a retirement account with automatic investments. Manage or eliminate debt. People who never figure this out are doomed to face economic issues their whole life. Story 39. I would love to work in a good bookstore. I really looked into it when I moved and finally gave up on Plan A. They just make bad money, and I couldn't live on it even though my partner and I split everything 50-50. I love books. I love reading them and talking about them. I even rebind books for people I know when I feel like it. If I could make a solid living doing book-related work, I would jump on it. Story 40. I would be a handyman and do house projects for and with people I know. Not all the time, but periodically, and take a break between jobs. I am an electrical engineer and have no problem doing cool things with electricity and lighting, which can be fun. I enjoy carpentry. Story 41. Honestly, I just want to be independently wealthy and have enough money to not price check groceries, go out to eat when I want, and do basic level things without thinking about the cost. I'm lucky enough to live within walking distance of a beach, on a canal to a bay with a golf cart. My dream life would be to live exactly where I do and not have to work. Story 42. I would probably be a travel blogger, but in a way that doesn't require me to be influential or deal with sponsored posts. I just want to go to weird places, try weird foods, and write about how the locals will judge me for wearing socks with sandals. Story 43, game developer. Something I could take my time with, you know? Video, card, board, whatever. I have so many game ideas and so little time and energy to work on them. Story 44. I would like to own and operate a live music venue. One about the size for upper mid-range talent, but would have local events for up-and-comers as well. This is a lucrative idea, but it would take a large financial startup that I probably will never have. Music is my life and passion. Although I'm not a musician, concerts and shows are where I feel the most myself, and if I could do that as a career, even better. Story 45. We need smarter and thoughtful people making more decisions. Education is the only way I really know how to go about trying to influence that. Story 46. I just want to be able to stay home with my kids and keep a home clean and cook fresh meals. I did it for 3 years and loved it. I was the happiest I ever was. Then COVID happened and my husband got laid off and hasn't been able to find a job with comparable pay. So I had to go back to work. We wanted more kids. We wanted a farm. Still hanging on to that hope. Story 47. I'd go back to being an activity aide on a memory care unit. I absolutely loved the job and the residents I interacted with every day. Sadly, the job was $14 an hour, and that was not enough to deal with the challenges. Those challenges included nursing home bureaucracy, having 3 job titles, and taking on manager responsibilities when mine wasn't there.